Today I am reviewing the newly released SD80D LED light from Great Video Maker, who were kind enough to send me a copy of this a couple of months before it was released in order to test and review. In fact, I'm using it as my key light for this very video so you can see it in action. Along with the light, they also shipped me an octabox and a light stand. Now the octabox I have fitted to my fill light, and whilst I'm not using the light stand, I do very much like it. It's got a design that's a little different to what I'm used to seeing in a light stand. The legs are a lot longer proportionally to the center column than a normal light stand, and they're hinged much further up. Now, while that does mean that folded down in the conventional way it's very long, you can actually flip the legs over, and so you end up with much longer legs than normal, but they can be folded down to almost flat to give a much broader area for better balance on uneven surfaces. And yet all of this doesn't actually compromise the overall packed down size of the light stand that much. But anyway, you're not here to look at a light stand. I mean, to be fair, you might not even be here to look at a light. But this video is supposed to be about a light, so we'll crack on with it. The SD80D is an 80 watt bicolor LED light. Now, it's got a color temperature range of 2700 up to 7500 Kelvin, has a CRI of over 97. Brightness is rated at 11,300 lumens at a half a meter and 2860 lumens at 1 meter. I did a side-by-side comparison, just for reference really, between my regular key light, which is the Ninja 400 Mark II, and the fill light that I'm using, the Colbar CL60, versus the GVM. Now, these were all of them at their maximum brightnesses, so you can't read too much into that, given the fact that the Ninja 400's a 150 watt light, the GVM's an 80, and the Colbar CL60 is a 60 watt light. But all of them were positioned on the same light stand, the same distance away from the wall, camera in the same place, same settings and everything. I even used the same reflector dish on each light to give absolute consistency. And while obviously the GVM isn't as bright as the Ninja, at face value it doesn't actually look as bright as the Colbar, even though the Colbar's 20 watt less power. But the Colbar seems to focus a lot of that light towards the center and has very severe fall off towards the edges, while the GVM appears to have a much flatter, evenly distributed light. The design of the GVM, well, in 2 words, it's probably small and plastic. I mean, the light itself is very, very small, and pretty much the entirety of it, the outer shell, the bracket mount and everything, all appears to be plastic. The only metal components that are visible, at least, is the heatsink element sticking out the front, which is quite a hefty heatsink, to be fair. There's a fan situated just behind it, which is pulling air from behind the light and ejecting it out of the front past the light. Now, this system seems to be very effective. I've had the light running for a prolonged period now at full power, and it barely gets warm. Granted, the inside of the softbox is becoming a nice little hand warmer, but the light itself is not so bad. Now, the fan doesn't appear to have any control to it. You can't turn it off, you can't run passive cooling. It doesn't even look like it's got any sort of levels in terms of, you know, high speed, low speed, a quieter mode. That being said, it's audible, I'll give you that, although to be fair, the CL60, which is situated further away to my right, is noisier than the GVM. The controllable features of the light are sort of what you kind of come to expect from LED lights these days. You've got obviously your brightness control and your color temperature variations, and then you have several different programmed special effects that you can bring up, but I never personally use them. Controlling all this, however, is a little bit clunky if you're trying to do it on the light. The only controls you've got on the light is the power switch. You've got one rotatable knob that you can push in, and then you've got a button on the side next to the little LCD panel. Now, for controlling the brightness and the color temperature, you press and hold the rotating knob at the back to switch between the two modes, and then you rotate the dial to make the settings changes. I believe to get into the special effects menus, you've got to press and hold one of the button around the side to enter the special effects mode, and then you can use the knob, or then you press. I can't remember, basically. It's very clunky, not particularly great for trying to get into the special effects. The way I've generally been controlling the light, though, is with my phone instead. You're sitting on my phone. You are. I mean, I've already paired this light up, but from here, I can adjust the color temperature. I can adjust the brightness. In fact, the brightness in the app even lets you do 0.1%, although I'm not entirely sure if that's actually making much difference or not. And then you've got the effects tab where you can go no effect, lightning. And one of the functions that is listed on here is mesh networking. Now, I believe that is where you can control several lights at a time through the app. I don't have multiple lights to test this out, but that's what I believe it is, because on the front home page, you've got, you can add multiple devices, and you can, well, it says SIG mesh groups, so I'm assuming you can put multiple devices into a group and then obviously control them all simultaneously if you want. Now, this light, much like most LED lights these days, it's got a transformer block that takes a lot of the size out of the light itself and just drops it down into here. So obviously this is, while the light itself is not particularly heavy, this does carry some bulk to it. So when it's still weight that you've got to carry around. The cable on it's not quite long enough to reach the floor at that sort of height. The light currently is sitting only about eye level to me, 8'7", 5'9". The block is just scraping along the bottom of the floor. The cable's just scraping the floor now. So there is some strain being put on the input socket. They've at least had the nous to make it a 90-degree cable head so that it's not straining the cable itself. It might just be putting some pull on the socket instead. However, at least in the respects of this light, unlike some lights where it's a case of, the light itself doesn't weigh much, but you've always got to carry around the big transformer block, this does have the option of being powered by NPF batteries, which was the feature about this light that really caught my interest. I've seen a lot of LED lights that can be powered by batteries, but they always seem to run the V-mount batteries, bloody big heavy things that, I don't have any of them. Granted, I've only got a couple of NPF batteries, and the 550s, they're not big batteries, and they're third party and not particularly brilliant, but I can at least verify that they do work. I don't know how long they last. Like I say, the batteries that I've got, not particularly brilliant quality. They're supposedly fully charged, and when I put them in on the light, it says they are fully charged. But then once I get up to close to 100% power, the battery indicator quickly drops to about a half. So I don't think, at least with those batteries, the light is going to last that long. But if you've got maybe 970s or at least decent batteries, you'll probably get a fair bit of running time out of them. Only shameful thing about it, though, is there's the power selector switch. You can flick it up for mode 1, which powers off the mains, or you can flick it down for mode 2, which powers off the batteries. But you can't charge the batteries on the camera whilst connected to mains, if you get my drift. It would have been nice to have that if you could just put the batteries on the camera, on the light, leave them there, and then whenever you are using the mains power, it tops the batteries up. Then you could just unplug the light and it would immediately be running on battery power. That's not the case with this. Overall, not really much I can say about the light. I mean, it's pretty bright. That's running 100% power at 5600 Kelvin at the moment. And yeah, I mean, it does the job. It's very portable in the fact that it is quite small and light, and you can use it on batteries, and pretty common, affordable batteries at that. So, no major complaints. At the time of recording this, however, I think we're still about over a month off release. GVM haven't made any statements about pricing or whatever, so I've no idea how much the light is going to cost. I'm not even going to attempt to speculate on it. All I will say is once I do find out, I will make a note of it in the description down below, and I will also put links to it once it is available. Other than that, there is not much more to be said, other than someone's getting impatient for me to finish now, aren't you? So we'll wrap it up. If you have any questions or queries regarding the SD80D or anything else for that matter, leave them in the comments down below. While you're down there, if you enjoyed this video and you haven't already done so, then please consider hitting the like and subscribe button, and then hopefully we'll see you in the next video. Would you like to go? Yes. Okay, come on then. Go on. You first. I can't move if you're on me. Stay here.